This evening, let's explore overthinking and meditation. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi. This is the Lama you are looking for. This evening, we could chant and meditate and enjoy a lesson or two. But first, if you love Star Wars and you wish to meditate as transformatively as Luke Skywalker learned to do on Dagobah under the guidance of Yoda, be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. I'm going to take a moment to tend to that which passes for my side monitor. If at any point during this evening's live stream you have a question, do not be shy. Simply type your question in great detail in the chat window on the right-hand side of the screen. What's that? You say you're watching a replay, then simply type your question in the comment area below the video. Oh, on Reddit asked, I find it difficult to stop my mind overworking, overthinking due to my anxiety. Any help? Oh, continued. I'm a beginner to meditation. I only recently started doing it. I've been doing 20 minutes, or at least trying to, in the morning before I start my day. Bravo, well done. The thing is, due to my anxiety, it is difficult to clear my thoughts. Do you have any advice? So I do. Here's the first piece of advice. You may have anxiety, and you may have difficulty clearing your thoughts, but there may not necessarily be a causal relationship. It's a mistake to confuse causation with correlation. So it's really important to be flexible in our thinking. We can observe many things, but we have to remember that we don't always know how they fit together. We know how they may seem to fit together. We know how they may feel to fit together. But that doesn't mean that that's the way it is. And the more flexible you are in the way you approach this problem or any problem, the more peace and success you will enjoy. Number 2, meditation is not supposed to be the suppression of thoughts. That might be useful for concentration, but that's not meditation. And so I'd like to jump ahead for a moment to illustrate my point. When reading the 81 poems of the Tao Te Ching, we're able to see certain patterns, certain behaviors attributed to Yang, and others to yin. So with yang, or patriarchy, we can see, amongst other attributes, rigidity and controlling tendencies, which really present themselves when someone is concentrating. The opposite of that would be, instead of being rigid, being flexible, instead of being controlling, being laid back. So you can see how this would be antithetical to the practice of concentration, but it's wonderful for meditation. Mindfulness. Now, sadly, many stupid white people have treated the word mindfulness as a synonym for concentration, but it is not. And we could debate, what is language? Is language nothing other than the agreed upon meanings of meaningless sounds, blah, blah, blah. But the fact is, if you want to understand a system of meditation, you really need to align our definitions with the founder of the path. It has been said by some that medicine is what works. Same thing with meditation. If you want to be peaceful, being a control freak will not get you there. If you want to be a control freak, that's great, but don't expect it to give you peace. If you do, you'll be horribly disappointed. So our job is not to go from one extreme to another. We're not supposed to be so controlling that we try to dictate our experience. We also don't want to be incredibly scattered like a 3-year-old who's had too much chocolate and has spun around in the living room and is now getting ready to vomit all over grandma. Let's not do that either. Let's find the middle ground of a type of spontaneity that is centered. The following I wrote approximately 6 days ago. And if you've just joined me, remember, if at any point you have a question, please type your question in the chat window. That is a bizarre looking thing on the screen. Oh well. Okay, so let's hit it. Overthinking is exhausting. But you know what's also exhausting? Trying to decipher, no less apply, the cryptic advice of many meditation teachers, rigid, elitist, and self-serving. I'm glad you're prone to overthinking, for it speaks well of your intelligence, energy, and zest for life. Have no fear, meditation is easy when you understand the neuroscience behind it. Inhale enthusiastically and you'll access the sympathetic nervous system, which is wired to perceive vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and spontaneously. Exhale with the intention to relax, and you'll access the parasympathetic nervous system, which evolved to help us to release and let go. Effortless tranquility is one of the 11 benefits of loving-kindness meditation enumerated by the Buddha. Coordinate the mental recitations of the 2 slogans, happiness and for all beings, as you breathe in and out while sitting in a sustainable pose. Practice this for 16 rounds of breathing every 12 hours or so, and you'll be well on your way to meditating like a Jedi. Let's see, gotta push the right button in the right sequence or the computer gets very cross. Let's spend less than a minute on housekeeping. Every 12 hours I broadcast a live meditation class without any ads. With your help, this channel could support the next generation of nuns, monks, yogis, lamas, and even brick-and-mortar meditation centers, each replete with a resident teacher and their apprentice. If this speaks to you, if it sounds like a good idea, you could help out for as little as the cost of 1 cup of coffee a month. Simply use your phone to capture the QR code on the screen, or simply click the link, the Patreon link, or the PayPal link, or the YouTube link in the description area below the video. Let's practice the latest iteration of Green Heroine's Easy Tantra. Gotta push the right button in the right sequence, or it doesn't go. Let us begin with some silent meditation. It is known by many words, by many names. Some call it Zen, some call it Shan, some call it Dhyana, some call it Mahasandhi. Some people call it Ati Yoga, other people call it Sutra Mahamudra, and still others call it Trekcho Dzogchen. It helps us to slice through the duality of dread and desire. We're going to do one preparatory practice, or I should say one verbal preparatory practice, that's designed to create the sensation of real or imagined energy coalescing at the top of our head. Please chant with me. Kind Lama, please come to the crown of this head. Why are you the kindest of all Buddhas? For it is you who are present in my life. Kind Lama, please come to the crown of this head. What are you the kindest of all? Take two. Why are you kinder than all the Buddhas? There we go. Okay, that was a fun edit. Thank you for bearing with me. It's kind of my signature, oddly enough. Let me do a quick one last thing. I want to add a chanting mark. And now I get to verify that the display is synchronized. Kind Lama, please come to the crown of this head. You are kinder than all Buddhas, for you are actively present in my life. And so that's the real thing. It's really cool. Do make the most of this opportunity to ask me your questions. I've spoken to people who puffed out their chest and said, I studied with the Dalai Lama. Really? Are you sure you weren't in a stadium full of several thousand people listening to him to give one discourse? Well, yes. Does that Dalai Lama know your name? No. Then you didn't study with the Dalai Lama. So, this is an opportunity to ask someone questions for whom meditation is their career, and who will be elated to help you out however they can upon the path. Okay, that was our verbal prerequisite, our preparatory practice. Now a silent one, which is going to be, we'll take these 4 lines and shrink them down just to 1 line. On the in-breath, we can mentally recite Lama come, and during the out-breath, to this crown. And let's recite this silently and mentally 3 or 4 times. The essence of mindfulness is to simply recite seeing this during every inhalation. The essence of meditation is to mentally recite relaxing during each exhalation. If you want to, you can reduce that down from a 3-syllable format down to a 1-syllable format. We use ease here as a verb, which functions as a monosyllabic synonym for relaxing. Oh, Robert, how are you? Okay, Robert wrote, why does the silent mantra induce relaxation? It actually works, but I can't understand why. No problemo. Here's how it works. Both the lumbar region of the human spinal cord as well as the cervical region of this human spinal cord are accessed, or well, they're known as the parasympathetic nervous system, and they are accessed whenever we exhale. So we don't have to use the word relaxing. We could say garbage truck. But the reason I use the word relaxing there is so that we can, in an effort to align our conscious intention with the, metaphorically, factory installed instructions or wiring of our parasympathetic nervous system. So both the curse and the blessing of being a human is that we have a profoundly complex brain. And its evolution really was slapdash. It's ugly, but it's functional. So what it means is many necessary, think of it like a computer program, many necessary subroutines sometimes get undermined or suppressed. And by playing with this, we are inviting the various disparate regions of our brain to coordinate, to heighten the efficiency. That is our potential, our birthright of evolution, so to speak. So I hope that makes sense. And thank you for a superb question. One breath. This brings me to something I really enjoy. A rather unpopular collection of, well, I would say that, a controversial collection of contemplations. I call this a very concise version of the LIVESTREAM stages of the path to enlightenment. And these are contemplations. They're contemplations because they're very structured as opposed to being spontaneous like mindfulness and meditation. And I will tend to your question momentarily. I want to play with this first. So think of it this way. Your kitty cat, if you have the privilege of living with a kitty cat, has two modes. Sleeping on a patch of sunlight on the carpet, or being a chaos demon, running around the apartment, knocking shit off the etagere, picking fights with the dog, and being a great entertainment value. Similarly, our mind can be really mellow, or it can have the zoomies. Now, our job is not to suppress the zoomies. Our job is to exploit the zoomies, to put them to work. So, when our brain feels like really energetic, maybe we're having a memory of something, or we're worrying about something like that, or if we feel mentally energetic, we can play with these contemplations. So right now we could play with the idea of hating our primal survival instinct to shove some things away. So how could hating feel stressful? This is a rhetorical question. Let's play with it for 4 breaths. Now that we've identified stress, we're going to take a break from wisdom contemplation and play with a compassion exercise. All beings hate, may I soothe. You'd say, dude, hold the presses. I am not Gandalf the Grey. I am not Yaddle, Master Yaddle of the Jedi Council. I cannot work magic. How can I do this? And the answer is you don't have to work magic. You don't have to visualize, you don't have to emote, you don't have to believe. Simply mentally recite these phrases, these slogans, in harmony with your inhalation and exhalation, your observation and your relaxation. And that alone is all that is required to stimulate and strengthen the neural pathways responsible for empathy. All beings hate, may I soothe. Our second rhetorical question. With our second rhetorical question, we're going to play with the idea of impermanence. Not in a fundamentalist, rigid, scary way where we try to frighten ourselves to do the right thing out of fear of hell. Yuck. We're just going to explore impermanence in a way that helps us to see the futility of grasping at things. That's all. How could hate never last? Emotions come and go all day long. Our third rhetorical question is kind of a spooky one. How could hate not be me? Now remember, this is a rhetorical question. It's not our job to slip into superstition and blind faith. It's not our job to slip into skullduggery and write a thesis. This is a rhetorical question. Simply by playing with this ridiculous question, it makes it easier and easier and easier for our body and our mind to let go. Letting go doesn't mean shove away. Letting go means we make peace with the presence of that which is blissful and that which is painful, that which is glorious, and that which is grotesque. So we're going to go back to mindfulness and meditation for 4 breaths, and then I will entertain a question from Robert. No. Okay, so, oh, you're welcome. So Robert asked, are the opposites always present in us, like the grotesque and the glorious aspects you mentioned? Well, when I was referring to the aspects, I was just referring to our experience. By mentioning that sometimes things are glorious and sometimes they're grotesque, it can help us to relax when they come. So, because it can be a trap. With something awesome, we have a very blissful experience or a happy memory or an exciting anticipation of a possible future. We can get all excited and hold on to it tightly with white-knuckle intensity. And doing so kind of sets us up for more stress. Similarly, when we have a painful memory or a scary anticipation of a possible future, or something acts up in our physiology, which is a manifestation of poor health, and it's painful, it can throw us into a tailspin. And we can go into a frenzy of trying to shove it away. And so my verbiage that I'm selecting is just designed to help you to set you up, to have an expectation that whatever comes up, it's par for the course, it's temporary, and by using specific techniques, I can make peace with it. Think of it this way. By physically relaxing and mentally releasing in harmony with each exhalation, after mindfully inhaling, we have the opportunity to let go of our habitual resistance to the presence of that which we hate. We can let go of our habitual resistance to the absence of that which we crave. We can let go of our habitual resistance to the loss of that to which we cling. We all cling to something. It's a mistake to think that hating and craving and clinging are wrong. They're wired into our central nervous system. They are baked into the cake that is you and me. We try to get rid of those things at our peril. As Carl Sagan mentioned in the final chapters of his Cosmos novelization way back in the late 70s, early 80s, we cannot get rid of the basal ganglia without our organism perishing. And yet, it has survival mechanisms which overall cause our ancestors many times to live long enough to pass on genetic material, but that never evolved for emotional fulfillment, peace and cooperation and all that kind of good stuff. So it served a function, it's clunky, it's imprecise, and it can beat us about the head and shoulders. And yet, according to the Buddha, our job is not to get rid of it. I've never seen a Buddha statue holding a hacksaw and an ice cream scoop as if to do a home lobotomy. Unless, of course, it was a statue designed or commissioned by, who was Tim Burton? I can see Tim Burton creating a statue like that. That would be hysterical. But most folks wouldn't dream of that. There's a reason for it. And the subtle reason is the Buddha's path is not one of shoving away our instinctual mechanisms, but merely finding a way to liberate ourselves, not from their presence, but from their tyranny. They're still there, but they no longer, we can get to the point where they no longer control our choices or our communication or our behavior. That is the freedom that the Buddha offers. You, my friend, are utterly welcome. And as always, if someone just joined in, when you have a question, type it in great detail in the chat window. Let's meditate. This body of mine has many disabilities, and so you're going to see me fidgeting a lot trying to manage my arthritis. I hope you do not find that too off-putting. Let's return to our 4 contemplations. And this time, instead of playing with hating, we're going to play with craving. How could crave feel stressful? And now I understand that using the word crave instead of craving here is grammatically incorrect, but it's easier to meditate on 3 syllables than 4 for some reason. All beings crave, may I soothe. How could crave never last? Let's explore that for a minute. Let's pretend there was your favorite dish. My tantra partner makes an amazing fried rice. So let's pretend you're eating your favorite side dish and you had 1 serving of it. It's awesome. But what if you had 4 servings at it until you had a bellyache, and then for breakfast you had 4 more servings at it, and then for lunch you had 4 more servings at it? You know what? Your craving for that dish would diminish drastically. So we can see in our own lives that cravings come and go. Think of it this way. Once again with a cat. Pet a cat for a little bit behind its ear and it loves it. And it purrs and rubs up against you. Pat a cat too long in the same place and it'll walk away or bite you because it's a cat. I love cats, but they are a good entertainment value. So, how craving not be me? Once again, these are rhetorical questions. It's not our job to answer them. And let's go back to seeing this relaxing, our exercise of mindfulness and meditation. Play with this exercise, page 6, once every 12 hours for a week or so, and you will have found you will have accidentally memorized it, which is great. Then you can practice it when you're out and about, when you're going for a walk and all that kind of fun stuff. Let's return to our 4 contemplations. And let's deal with competition, which is, of course, the opposite of cooperation. So a monosyllabic synonym for competing, I guess it's 2 syllables, would be vying or vie. How vying feels stressful. Of course, in the 80s, there was a guitarist known as Steve Vai, but that's completely different. All beings vying, may I soothe. So what we see between the first and the second contemplations is we're starting off observing a source of stress for ourselves. And then we're turning around and recognizing that we're not alone in a vacuum. We're not the only ones to suffer from this. Others suffer from it too. And just as I'd like to experience freedom from this suffering, so would they. Therefore, I transform my selfish desire into a universal compassion. So that's a whole lot of explaining for a very simple set of exercises. That's probably why they've been so popular for so many thousands of years. How could vying never last? The race ends. The competition concludes. How could vying not be me? And now let's return to seeing this relaxing. Let us return to these 4 contemplations. And this time explore clinging. And you might ask, what is the difference between craving and clinging? Linguistically, we crave that which we do not have. We reach for something. We cling to that which we do possess. We hold on tightly to it. Like a doggy with a chew toy, he's not letting go. Or like a dog with, after some dogs, when you throw a ball, they chase it, they bring it back to you, they drop it on your feet, and they can't wait for you to throw it again. Other dogs, when they retrieve the ball, they're not letting go of it. It's their ball now. You can piss off. That's clinging. Actually, I jumped the gun. Sorry about that. Now, some people say, this whole compassion business, it sounds like attachment. But when we read of the Buddha's teachings, the second fold of the Eightfold Path is right aspiration, or right wishes, or right desires. So there are destructive desires and helpful desires. So when we blend compassion or love with fear and rigidity and the desire to control, it gets pretty neurotic. However, when we blend love or compassion with with flexibility and being a choice of being laid back, relinquishing the illusion of control, then it's perfectly safe and downright therapeutic. And now we return to the 4 contemplations. How could clinging feel stressful? All beings clinging, may I soothe. How could clinging never last? How could clinging not be me? We've just completed our 256th breath. So let's move on now to some mantra meditation. First, a bit of the old preliminaries. May I yearn to liberate all beings through mastery of the Eightfold Path, with each recitation of the 10-syllable mantra. May I rely upon the Buddha's example, instructions, and students, with each recitation of the 10-syllable mantra. God Lama, may I regret the harm I've done and resolve to do the kind thing, with each recitation of this 10-syllable mantra. May I enthusiastically share with all beings all my wisdom, health, take two. May I enthusiastically share with all beings all my wisdom, love, health, and possessions, with each recitation of the 10-syllable mantra. God Lama, please blend with his heart mind with each recitation of the 10-syllable mantra of our minds that... Aha! God Lama, please blend with his heart mind with each recitation of the 10-syllable mantra for our mind share the same empty nature. Kind Lama, please blend with his heart mind for each recitation of the 10-syllable mantra of our mind, for our minds shares the same empty nature. So we're now preparing to leapfrog over confusion with mantra meditation, which is more like contemplation really, but mantra meditation sounds cool. Mantra meditation is known by many names. It is known by some as Mahayoga, by others as Tantra Mahamudra, and by others as Tokal Dzogchen. You can call it Joyce for all I care. You can call it Rutabaga because that just sounds funny, doesn't it? Om invokes the archetypes tare courage, to tare pacification, and to the increase. Soha supplicates with these attributes, may I like Tara liberate all. So what is this Tara business here? Tara is the one of many, many archetypes of enlightenment. In tantric art, statues and tapestries and whatnot, archetypes of enlightenment are visible. The foolish use these archetypes as they treat them like gods or goddesses and beseech favors from them, which is a mistake. The wise treat these archetypes simply as a way of organizing similes, the similes and the metaphors that we're going to work with during the next 8 contemplations. So we're going to begin by leapfrogging over our clinging tendencies by contemplating letting go. So I think this is a pretty painting. This represents the paradise or the Pure Land, or if you prefer Sanskrit, the Vati of an archetype of enlightened activity. This one is known in Sanskrit as Shyamatara, known in Tibet as Drol Zhang or Drol Zhang, and in English as Green Heroine or simply Green Tara. During the in-breath, we're going to recite a rhetorical question. During the exhalation, hopefully we're going to relax into the whispered recitation of the mantra that we just chant about. So allow me to explain the rhetorical question. With each inhalation, we can observe our circumstances, and yet, as we physically relax into the recitation of the mantra, these exact same circumstances could begin to feel as if they were as non-graspable as a vast, empty void. They could feel as if they were as non-graspable as the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although it could be tantalizing to the eye, is actually non-graspable to the touch. As we exhale, our circumstances could feel as if they were as non-graspable as a real or imagined Buddha's paradise comprised only of light. The Buddha taught mindfulness, taught the 4 bases of mindfulness. And so we're coordinating these contemplations with the 4 bases of mindfulness. The 4 bases of mindfulness are the circumstantial, the physical, the interpersonal, and the mental. As we breathe in, we could notice how easy it is to feel the inherent sensuality of our own bodies, and yet as we relax into the recitation of the mantra, these exact same bodies could begin to feel as if they were as non-graspable as a Buddha's real or imagined body of light, also known as a yadam. As we breathe in, our communication could feel rather resounding, yet as we relax into the recitation of the mantra, that exact same communication, our relationships that are built on communication, both verbal and nonverbal, could begin to feel as if they were as non-graspable as a mantra comprised only of light. If this is your first time, give yourself permission to have a learning curve. Practice this mantra once every 12 hours or so, and with a week or two, you can feel like old hat. As we breathe in, it is very easy to observe mind's functions of perception, emotion, intention, reason, recollection, and imagination. And yet, as we relax into the whisper recitation of mantra, mind and its functions can begin to feel as if they were as non-graspable as a one-syllable mantra or a bija mantra comprised only of light. Let us now prepare for the second half of our mantra meditations, the second half pertaining to love. As we chant the mantra, it could feel as if emerald rays were emitting from a thumbnail size horizontal considerable mantra rosary at our heart. Lavishing all circumstances, bodies, communication, and minds with good fortune, health, love, and wisdom centered and spontaneous. We're now going to leapfrog over our competitive tendencies by contemplating right wishes. And I think it would be better if I moved this a little bit to the left. Un, deux, trois. And if I'm truly considerate, I'll check to make sure the displays are still synchronized. Okay. Let us lovingly wish. Now, we don't have to emote or believe or visualize. It's enough just to silently and mentally recite these words in harmony with our breathing. In doing so, it could have quite a lovely effect upon our intention. So let us intend that all circumstances of all beings, real or imagined, now be as fortunate as a Buddha's real or imagined paradise, or Pure Land, or Vati. In a perfect world, no one would be homeless. No one would have to, no one would be exploited. As we breathe in, we could wish that all beings of all worlds, real or imagined, now were as healthy as the fabled, as a Buddha's body of light, real or imagined, known as a yadam. Let us lovingly wish that all communication, verbal and nonverbal, and all the relationships they support, be as loving as a Buddha's love, as a Buddha's communication, symbolized by a mantra of light. A love that is neither rigid nor controlling, but that is rooted in flexibility and being laid back. Let us lovingly wish that all minds of all beings be as wise as a Buddha's mind, symbolized by a one-syllable mantra or a bija. Having reached the 2/3 mark, we could switch gears now from mantra meditation to bliss meditation. This is known by several names, such as Anu Yoga, Bija Mahamudra, and Tokal Dzogchen. Once again, forgive my pronunciation, I am not a polyglot. I'd like to begin with a wonderful contemplation that helps us to explore the dance of impermanence and interdependence. There is no need to visualize, just let these words roll around your mind like water on your back in the shower at the end of a hard day. What could it be like if all beings of all worlds other than earthlings blissfully melted into rainbow light that absorbed into their worlds? What if all worlds other than Earth blissfully melted into rainbow light that absorbed into all earthlings? What if all earthlings other than our neighbors blissfully melted into rainbow light that absorbed into Earth? What if all of Earth other than our neighborhood blissfully melted into rainbow light that now absorbed into our neighbors? What if our neighbors blissfully melted into rainbow light that absorbed into our neighborhood, which is as non-graspable as a Buddha's paradise? What if our neighborhood blissfully melted into rainbow light that now absorbed into our body, which was as non-graspable as a Buddha's body of light? What if our bodies blissfully melted into rainbow light that absorbed into our speech faculty, which was as non-graspable as a Buddha's mantra? What if our speech faculty blissfully melted into rainbow light that absorbed into our mind, which was as non-graspable as a one-syllable mantra comprised only of light? What if our mind blissfully melted into rainbow light that absorbed into infinite openness? Armed with this sense of possibility, let's play with the following series of 9 one-repetition contemplations. All beings melt into worlds. All worlds melt into earthlings. Earthlings melt into earth. Earth now melts into neighbors. Neighbors melt into here. Here now melts into form. Form now melts into speech. Speech now melts into mind. Heart-mind melts into void. And now let's play with a very similar exercise. Instead of seeing this, it's feeling this. let's seal the practice with a wee bit of chanting, eh? May all the home of martyrs, non-humans, and so forth be overcome. May they become non-existent. May they be pacified. May they be thoroughly pacified. May all kinds of interferences, diseases, and possessing spirits be pacified. May all be separated from unfavorable conditions. And may all experience favorable conditions and everything excellent. Through this fortune may there be at this time happiness and health. May all my speech forms and lots be as wise, loving, healthy, and fortunate as great heroines Bija-mantra-yidam and Vati of Lore. May all beings like green heroine, master being, flexible, loving, laid back, egalitarian, cooperative, and kind. May all beings practice of kind communication, conduct, and calmness, slow, spontaneous, and uncontrived. May all beings like green Tata master the Eightfold Path as well as liberate all others. May each being take auspicious rebirth, master the Buddha's path, and then help all others do likewise. May everyone be free from stress, may everyone be happy. May no one be separated from the happiness. May everyone have balance from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging freed. My friends, if you feel I have earned it, please type something in the chat window. Give this live stream a thumbs up and share it on social media. In approximately 10.5 hours, we could return to explore Buddha's plowing discourse. Well, that's it. Weird, my camera seems to have frozen. Anyway, hopefully you can still hear me. Oh well. We'll also chant and meditate. Until then, may you and yours be happy and healthy, and if you are as geeky as me, this is the way. Robert, my friend, you are utterly welcome